November 1943. The skies over the Pacific literally hung in a balance of uncertainty. Above the vast ocean, a deadly encounter was about to unfold. The roar of Japanese Zero fighters cut through the air as they plunged down, undertaking to strike fear into the hearts of the American forces below. But there was a catch, something they hadn't counted on. Unbeknownst to them, the game had changed, and the true face of modern warfare was about to reveal itself. In the heart of the Pacific theater of war, a new weapon silently set ripples. It wasn't a bomb or a missile, but something far deadlier, a radar system. And it wasn't just any radar. It was a key to an advantage terrifyingly huge for the U.S. Navy. A single radar operator, cool in the darkened confines of a control room, would have the power to tip the battle scales. It was an invisible hand that lay at the helm of a squadron of aircraft, 50 F6F Hellcats, the deadliest fighter planes in the Pacific. These planes weren't fast, agile, or ready to fly. They were guided by the accuracy of radar, which let them hunt down the enemy with deadly precision. As Japanese pilots sped into battle, they didn't know F6F Hellcats were tracking them. With one operator manning the radar, the Hellcats moved in like wolves hunting at night. The radar had turned the hunter into the hunted. Time became a race for every Japanese pilot. But with the radar at the helm, it was no longer about speed. It was a question of who knew where the strike would come from. Thick with tension, the pilots of the Imperial Japanese Navy dove toward the American fleet. Their mission was clear: destroy the Hellcats and cripple the Americans' ability for retaliation. What they didn't know was that they were walking into a trap, one which they could not see, much less escape. Every move, every turn had been foreseen and then covered. Seated in his quiet room, the radar operator was in complete control, feeding information to the Hellcats as if they were marionettes in his hands. The Japanese pilots advanced, their engines screaming as they sliced through the air with deadly intent. But they had no idea what lay ahead. What they could not see, what they couldn't understand, was how 50 F6F Hellcats could appear out of nowhere, cutting through their formations with ruthless precision. Eyes in the sky, seeing every move the Japanese made, and responding with terrifying accuracy. The radar operator, with calm eyes and steady hands, moved the controls and guided the Hellcats into position, relaying their locations with pinpoint accuracy. And the Hellcats responded, diving to action, guns blazing. It wasn't a dogfight, it was a massacre. The Japanese pilots, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, could do nothing as they fell one by one. Spiraling out of control, their planes fall into the ocean below. But for the Hellcats and the pilot, it wasn't just the strength of the planes or the courage of their men that led to the kill. No, it was the power of technology. It was radar, an unseen force, which had turned the tide of battle into an impossible fight from the Japanese viewpoint. The Japanese pilots had fallen for a false sense of confidence based on their speed and agility. But now they were the ones in the trap. And their fate was sealed with something well out of their control. One quiet radar operator, working quietly in the background, had engineered a faultless attack. And in that instant, everything changed. The smoke of the explosions clear, the Pacific sky started to look like the aftermath of a storm, scattered with wreckage. The Hellcats circle, their engines roaring like hungry predators who have just claimed their prey. Down below, the ocean ripples with the dark remnants of the battle. Waters stained with the remains of the planes that had dared to challenge. The might of the U.S. Navy, what the Japanese pilots had failed to realize was that this battle wasn't just about the sharpest tactics or the fastest plane. It was about technology, radar, an unseen silent weapon that changed everything. The radar operator had foreseen it all before the Japanese pilots even knew what was coming. The radar wasn't just giving out directions. It was shaping the battle, foreseeing every move of the enemy, and turning the tables in a way no one could have predicted. It wasn't just a lucky strike. The Japanese had been hit before they even saw it coming, every move they made carefully countered by the F6F Hellcats. But what made this attack even more devastating was sheer scale. 50 Hellcats, each guided by the radar operator's skill, spread out across the sky like an impenetrable net, closing in on the Japanese fighters, systematically picking them off one by one. In the control room, The operator's hands were steady, his mind clear, and his focus sharp. He wasn't just reacting to the situation, he was controlling it. He had seen the radar blips, heard the signals, and mapped the movements of the Japanese planes before they even had a chance to act. It was almost as if the battle had been decided before the first shot was even fired. The radar operator was the invisible hand that guided the Hellcats, a ghost in the machine whose impact on the battle was felt by every Japanese pilot unlucky enough to be caught in the web. And it wasn't just the Japanese.